Imagine an army of robots. Not that kind of robots. More like this. Hello, I'm Matthew Williams, and I have the pleasure of being your teacher for this class. I'm so excited to see all the things that you're going to learn and grow. Now, why talk about an army of robots, right? Now, sometimes we think of army robots, we think of Terminator, right? Robots trying to take over the world. But in this case, I'm going to teach you how to create an army of robots to do work for you. So they're going to automatically post things on social media, make blog posts, everything, and you're not going to have to do a thing. It's all going to be done for you. Okay. Now, first of all, let's kind of go through some of the things that we're going to learn here today. So you're going to learn how to make this automated process to create quality posts. First, we're going to explain how to do that with just a blog post. And then I'm going to show you how to apply that to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Okay. You're going to be able to create a list of things that you want to have posts about. Okay. And then the routine is going to use that as a list to create different posts. Okay. You're also going to come up with a way so that you could pull information from, let's say, Reddit and get posts directly from ideas of other people. Okay. You're going to learn how to customize this routine, but you're not going to need any coding, right? So you're going to create this army of robots, but you're not going to need any coding to do it. Okay. You're going to learn how to apply this to any situation, right? So you're going to be able to automatically post to 4 social media places at once, right? Without having to even click a button after we set it. So this class is not a comprehensive on necessarily the setting up a social media account. This is a way to get quality content without spending all the time. Okay. So that's really the focus of this course. Now, um, obviously, if you have questions, I can help answer those. But the focus of this is going to be specifically on how can you create that content. Okay. Why is it important? Well, it's important because there is such a demand for having this backlog of content, whether it's a post, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook page, right? You need to have just this content that's there so when someone scrolls through, there's something there, right? But it can take a lot of time and it can take a lot of money to hire someone to create that content. This is going to show you how to do that without any of that time or hassle or energy or money, right? You can do it just a few clicks and you're going to have a backlog of content within days. Okay. If you ever get stuck and you need some help, make sure you reach out. I'm here to help you. You can find me on my Facebook page. You can also message me, or you can also go on submit an assignment, and I can help you work through whatever process you are doing in that assignment. Okay. This class is going to continue to evolve and improve as technology changes and improves. So I'm really excited to continue to give you knowledge and give you new methods of doing this type of thing. Now, the question is, why trust me, right? The answer to that question is that I actually have a background in teaching, right? That's my background and that's my passion. And so I'm really excited to share this technology and these resources with all of you and give you a chance to see some of the tools that I enjoy using. Okay, so go ahead and we'll dive in. And for this next video, I'm going to show you some examples of what you can do. Thanks. Hello. So in this video, we're going to go over some of the examples of the content that you can create with this class. So let's go ahead and look at this. This is a blog that I have created, and you can see all of these posts are actually created with the routine. So you can see I've created a picture. It's got this nice content here. It's got structure, right? You can see how there's a lot of different types of things. And so I think that's a great way that you're building up this content, right? You can see that there's really interesting pictures, definitely some interesting topics, right? And I didn't have to do any of that. It was just created, right? I didn't have to go through, come up with these titles. I didn't have to come up with the picture or the prompt for the picture. It did all that without me doing anything, right? And then we can also take a look at what it did for Facebook. Okay, so we had some Facebook here. It had all by itself, it's creating these different hashtags, some emojis, right? An interesting picture that's sort of an attention grabbing picture. So here's another one. It's definitely an interesting picture to see there, right? Definitely a cool picture. Here we have more of a pixelated picture, right? So there's different styles that it's throwing in there. And once again, all I need to do is set this up and it does it by itself. I don't have to interact with it. I don't have to do anything. It's going to do it by itself without me actually doing anything. So that's what's really, really amazing, right? So here's another one. Here's another one. Definitely some interesting pictures. You can see this one's also pretty similar. But then you have this text here, right? The AI was able to come up with that on its own. Okay. And here is where it's so interesting is because this is a way to get that content. You need something that your readers are going to look at, right? If you're creating a blog, you need some of that content. If you have a social media or a social media campaign, you need some of that content that's sort of more filler content, right? So that you don't have to necessarily be the one creating that content every single day. So this gives you a chance to do it completely automated, have this army of robots working for you, and it gives you a chance to then focus on a few specific things, right? So there's sort of this filler content that you have, and then you can focus on having some really high quality, very specific posts that you want to focus on later. Okay. So I'm really excited to have you in this class and show you how to do this. It doesn't take a lot of time, it doesn't take a lot of effort, but there's a ton of options for customization on this. It gives you a chance to change so many different things. If you didn't like the way it turned out, you can change it, make it better, improve it, right? And it will be able to continue to improve over time. Okay. If you are interested and you're in this class, I'm so glad that you're here, and go ahead and dive right in and get to the next video. Thanks so much. Hello, thanks so much for continuing on this course. So let's go ahead and look at how to sign up for Zapier. So you'll see, just go ahead and go to this link. It will be in the resources of this part. And then you're going to go ahead and click start free with email or with Google. That's what I use. I use Google, so I just go ahead from there. After you click on that, it's going to have you just sign in with Google or sign in with your email address. And then you're going to go ahead and click on different options that you have here. So whatever you feel like best applies to you. These don't really, it's not going to really affect anything, so you don't need to worry, but you can go ahead and click on there. And then it gives you a chance to customize the apps that you might want to use for this service. So I put in Gmail, Reddit, and then I added a few more ones. So ChatGTP. So you can go ahead and click on that. And then you can also add OpenAI as well, which gives you a couple more things than just ChatGTP. Now, one thing to remember is if you don't click on something here, that's not going to hurt you later on. You don't really need to worry about that, but this will just make it a little bit easier later. So you can also add Facebook as well. So you could add Facebook for business, so pages, or you could add Facebook Messenger, whatever you feel like will help you most. And so then we're going to go ahead, and this is a point where we're going to actually make a Zap in the next video. But there's actually a lot of functionality here that you could be using. So even though we're going to use this specifically to create an auto blogger using ChatGTP, there's a lot of other things that you could use as well. So you may find that even though you sort of learned about this for one particular use case, there's a ton of more use cases that might benefit you just as much. And so that kind of gives you really the opportunity to do whatever you need so that you're able to really get something more. So the way that this app works is it's automating different processes. We're going to use it to automate the process of looking at what's an interesting topic, and then we're going to turn that into a blog post. But it could be used to automate all kinds of things. So we can learn a little bit more about that later, but this was just sort of the sign up so that you will learn a little bit about how to sign up. One thing to remember is it does cost a little bit. So for the sort of higher grade model, it would be $50 a month, but they do give you a 14-day trial. So you can kind of find out if that's really what you want. And there is a free version as well as a mid-tier version as well. So that is something you could consider. But we will go ahead and continue. And that was as far as we get here, just kind of signing up. In this video, we're going to learn how to sign up for OpenAI's API access. So let's get to work on actually getting our API keys. So hopefully, as we've done before, you've already signed up for ChatGTP. And so this will go into the paid version of ChatGTP, not the ChatGTP Pro, but this is where you're paying per request. And that's actually better because it gives you a lot more access to different things you can do. So the link will take you to this page and you need to click on, it says here cancel pay account, but what you need to is set up a paid account. Obviously, if this is something that you're not interested in, you can kind of go through these steps and see how it works. But you click on here, create new secret key. So you can name it whatever you want. So key for demo is what I called it, create key. And then it shows up there and then you need to copy it. Okay. Make sure that you don't release that key to sort of the public. You need to keep it secret. It's Now in this section, we're actually going to start creating our routine. And this routine is just a way to automate this process. So it's just an automation. You can think of it sort of like a computer program, but that you don't actually have to use any code for. So everything's sort of automated for you. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, you'll see here on our page where we got to from signing up, you're just going to click create a zap. Okay. Just click on that and it's going to have a trigger and then a step. So the trigger is what's going to happen that's going to start this process, this automation process. And then the step is what you're going to have it do. So for right now, our trigger is going to be Reddit. Okay. So you're going to go ahead and click on Reddit there. And then you're going to click for the event. This is what's going to happen that's going to start this. So you're going to click new hot post in subreddit. And so the idea here is, okay, I want to write a blog, but I need ideas for topics, right? And so if there's a new hot post in a subreddit, that must be something people are talking about, something that people are interested in. And so that might make a good blog post. Okay. So then you're going to have to sign in. You can see here, it's kind of already signed me in because I've already used this, but you're going to have to sign into Reddit there, accept those permissions. And then it's going to actually have the trigger here. And so this is where you're going to put in whatever particular subreddit you'd like for it to use. You don't need capitalization. Make sure you hit that more button at the sort of right below at the right hand side of that box there. Hit that more button and then type in the subreddit that you'd like to use. Okay. So one thing to remember is that it's actually very important to pick a subreddit that is not picture dominated. It needs to be a text dominated one. So for example, I picked ChatGTP as an interesting topic that we could write about blog about. And then it gives you some example posts. So you're just testing to make sure that this process is working. So on this, you definitely want to make sure you're picking something that you would want to make into a blog. Sometimes some of the quote unquote hot posts are just sort of the rules for the subreddit or something else that wouldn't really work for a blog. So pick one that you think would work well. And then you can hit continue with selected post. So this is sort of just the way you're setting up that trigger so that anytime a new hot post is made in Reddit, you're going to take that and it's going to make a blog post for you and then actually post it in your blog. And so this is a great idea to get ideas for your blog post without actually doing anything, right? Sometimes it can be difficult to come up with ideas, especially if you're not the one necessarily writing each thing, right? It's a different thing if you're actually the one writing out all of those different blog posts. But if you're having ChatGTP write it, it would be annoying to maybe come up with every single one of those ideas. And the other thing that's nice is because it's taking it from Reddit, it's taking it from a popular post, there's at least some interest in this topic. I would also say because you want to have a subreddit that has a fair amount of activity, you need to pick one that's fairly popular. So this is definitely something you need to consider is what is a popular one? You probably need at least 1 million users on that subreddit. And then it needs to be something that's kind of updated, right? So definitely make sure you're picking the right subreddit. That can be a little bit tricky. One thing, as I said earlier, it needs to be something that's more text-based. If it's all pictures, ChatGPT can't turn those pictures directly into text. So you need to consider that as well. So it needs to be something that's more text dominated as opposed to just picture dominated. Okay. So this video was just explaining how are we going to start that first step. So that trigger step. And then next we'll go into actually how are you going to turn that post that we've grabbed from Reddit, from this subreddit, and how are we going to turn that into a blog post. Hello. So let's pick up where we left off. So we just had picked a post and we're going to hit continue with selected material. Okay. And then you're going to go ahead and work on that action. So we have our trigger. Now let's actually work on the action. What's going to happen, right? So here in this text box, you're just going to search for ChatGTP. Go ahead and click on that. And then you're going to click the event. We're going to have a conversation. So this is sort of, we're getting information back and forth, continue. And then you're going to connect to ChatGTP. So that's going to create a pop-up. And then in that pop-up, you're going to have to type in or copy and paste your API key. Okay. This is where you paste that in so that you then have access to your ChatGTP account. Okay. And it might take a second, but it won't take too long. Okay. And then after you hit sign in, it's going to actually go to this action. So the user message, this is the information that you want ChatGTP to use as it's creating its blog post. So I included the title of the Reddit post, the text of the Reddit post, which is the self text, and then also the permalink. So the link to that Reddit post. So this gives ChatGPT plenty of information, and then it can also reference that blog or that Reddit post so that your blog has sort of a grounding, like where is this idea coming from, right? So username, that's you, and I put blog manager. Assistant name, that's ChatGPT. I wrote blog writer. You could put a specific name as well. And then for assistant instructions, this is telling ChatGPT what you want it to do, right? So I said, wrote a 1,000 blog post about this Reddit post in HTML styling. It should be SEO, which is search engine optimized, and it should not be detectable as AI. It should also include 5 SEO hashtags at the bottom, as well as asking for comments. So one thing is I include not detectable as AI because sometimes search engines such as Google will penalize you if it detects that you have AI written content. So I added that just to help. And then also I suggest maybe adding a sentence about the style you like your blog post to be in. So it could be more formal and technical style of writing, or you could maybe say more conversational. One word of warning about conversational is sometimes it will actually create a conversation, which isn't really necessarily what you want for a blog post. But that's definitely something where you could create style. One thing you could do is if you have some example blog posts of the style you want, is you could potentially use that as a way to create style. And so you could include that in sort of your initial information and then say, follow this style of writing. So then you're going to go ahead and you can select the model. I just selected the 3.5 model because that's a little bit faster and it's a little bit cheaper, but you could go up to ChatGPT 4, which is now broadly available. There's some other options there, but you don't really need to worry about those. And then you can hit test action and then you can see what ChatGPT was able to create from those prompts. So it does take a second as it's actually answering that question, answering what you put in, analyzing it, and then giving out an output. And then you'll see here, it actually created something and you can see that it has a lot of HTML styling in there, which is nice. And so you can see it wrote that. It's a little bit short though. I think some of those words went into the HTML styling instead of the actual blog post. But that's something you could go back and say, okay, I'd like to make sure it's 1,000 words in the actual blog post. So sometimes it's not going to give you necessarily exactly what you want the first time, but that's where you need to go back and maybe make some changes. So at this point, you can go ahead and hit the plus button. So we're going to need to add another action, right? We have our blog post now, but we don't have everything in our blog. So we're going to add another action. Okay. But we'll go ahead and add that in our next video. So in this video, hopefully you were able to learn how to actually just get that initial blog post from ChatGPT using the information in the subreddit. Thanks so much for watching. So in this next video, we're going to look at, we already have this blog post created by ChatGPT. How can we actually put that on the blog? Okay. So you can see here, we have the conversation in ChatGPT, and then that's going to be sent in Gmail. You could also send it, if you're not using Gmail, you could also send it using Zapier. But let's go ahead and jump into it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add a step here. So you may only have 2 steps so far. You probably don't have the Gmail step yet. That's okay. You're going to hit add a ChatGPT step. Conversation, you should already be logged in. And then for the user message, the information I'm going to include, you're going to hit conversation in ChatGPT. Scroll all the way down, and it's going to be assistant response. Okay. That's the response from the ChatGPT that we just did in the previous video. For username and all that stuff, I'm not going to worry about that because I just want to get one thing from this, and that's the title of the blog post. Give me the title of this blog post. And the reason for that is we need to have that information as a separate piece so that when we send the email, we can have that title be put into the subject line of that email so that the title of our blog post will appear as the title of our blog post when we put it onto our blog. Okay. So you can see this is the actual part, but that's not really what's important. You're just testing the action. So just kind of go through the steps and then hit continue. Finally, here, it would be sending the email. So this we haven't really gotten to yet. So I'm just going to delete it. So at this point, you're just going to hit plus, add a step, and then you're going to hit Gmail. If you don't use Gmail, you could also use Zapier. So the email for Zapier was what you type in. Go ahead and click it. You're going to have to sign in. I've already signed in. And then for your action, you're going to hit send email. Okay, continue. My account's already there, so that's done. You'd have to add your account. If you're using Zapier, you may not need to add your account because you're kind of already logged in. Then you could change this to something else if you wanted to, but you can just do the default. It's not really important. Subject, this is where we're going to go to our third step. And you're going to go ahead and click on the user assistant response. And that's just the title, right? We want our subject to be the title of the blog post. For body paragraph, we're going to select HTML. Remember, we did HTML styling for our blog post. So that will give our blog post a little bit more styling instead of just basic text, right? So then for the body, you're going to go ahead and select that number 2, second conversation with ChatGPT, or first conversation, number 2 step in our process, our routine. You're going to go ahead and click on that, add that in there. And then 2, this is sort of where the real magic happens. In our previous thing, we learned how to actually post to the blog using an email. So you're going to use that email. So if you're using WordPress, it will give you an email from there. If you're using Blogger, you're actually going to write in sort of that secret number, but that we kind of already went over that. So all you need to do is copy and paste that into it, and you're ready to go. So you can go ahead and click test action just to make sure it works. It may take a minute or 2 or 3 for the blog to actually appear on your blog post, but it will appear if you've set up your Blogger or WordPress blog to accept those emails. So that's definitely something where you just kind of copy and paste that email into the 2, and then it's ready to go. So in this video, hopefully you're able to learn just how to turn that information, that blog post that ChatGPT wrote, into something that's actually appearing on your blog. Okay. Next video, we're going to say, okay, how can we add a picture? So I hope you stay tuned in for that. Hello. So in this video, we're going to actually figure out how do we add a picture, right? We don't just want text for our blog post. We need some sort of visual. How do we add a picture? So we've kind of already set up most of our workflow or most of our routine here, and we're just going to add a step. Okay. And then you're going to click not on chat. You're going to click on ChatGPT, sorry. Conversation, continue. You should already be logged in at this point. And then for your user message, you're going to go to that second step where we had the blog post, and you're going to click on that assistant response message. So that's our blog post. And then here for the instructions, we're going to ask ChatGPT to come up with a prompt for an AI generator. Okay, so it says generate a prompt for an AI generator that is less than 900 characters and includes a style such as impressionist or pixel art. It includes a background as well as a simple object in the foreground inspired by this blog post. Okay. So here it's the one coming up with it because we can't be the one typing in that prompt ourselves. You can go ahead and click test action and it will actually create that prompt. So here we're going to create a prompt and then we're going to use OpenAI's Dolly to actually create the image itself. Okay. So here we have this prompt. It is important that you put less than 900 characters because that is the maximum that Dolly accepts. So you're going to hit change or a new action there. And then you're going to hit this OpenAI Dolly whisper. Okay. For the event, you're going to actually click on generate an image. Then you're going to hit continue. This one you will have to log in. So go ahead and log in, use that API key again. And then for your prompt, you're going to go to that fourth step and then go to assistant response message. Okay. You can leave this the same. If you wanted to make it a more um, detailed picture, that's great. It will cost a little bit more. I mean, we're talking like half a cent versus, a quarter of a cent or whatever, but it will cost a little bit more if you increase the size. Okay. Then you can hit test action and then it will go ahead and generate a picture from that prompt that we just created in step 4. Okay. But nothing too complicated. And then it gives you a link here. So what you're going to do is just hit continue. Now in this email step, okay, we want to actually add that link into our email. So you're going to go all the way down to the bottom to attachments, scroll down, go to step 5, and then click on that image URL. Okay. And then you're going to hit continue. Yours should not have that little error triangle box because you should have already put in your email address for your Blogger or WordPress. Okay. And you can go ahead and hit publish and then it will actually start running, right? So then once it starts running, then anytime there's a new blog post, you can have that there. Okay. So do make sure you actually put in that email address and then you can hit publish. Okay. And then it kind of pops up with good job. You've created your first Zap, which is your first routine. Okay. You can kind of see it there. You can see up here, it says on. That means it's actually running and ready to go and ready to actually start creating posts for you. Okay. So that's the process, just the basic steps. And so that's how you're going to take that blog post and actually turn it into something with a picture, right? We need some sort of visual to make it a little bit more interesting for our users. Okay. In our next section, we'll look at what happens if you don't want to use Reddit or you want to kind of create your own blog post ideas. We'll go over that in the next section. Thanks so much. Hello. So in this video, we're going to look at what happens if you don't want to use Reddit as sort of your prompt generator idea as a way to kind of get ideas for your blog post. What about if you would like to have your own ideas, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So here, this is sort of your home page. Shows your zaps here that your routines. You're going to go ahead and click duplicate. So this is the one that you already have. So this I named ChatGPT Autoblogger from Reddit. And we're going to rename this to ChatGPT Autoblogger from custom ideas. Okay. And then you can go ahead and click on that. And so far this is going to be exactly the same as what we had before, but you're going to go ahead and click on that first step and you're going to change it from Reddit and you're going to change it to Zapier and you're going to click on schedule. Okay. Hit event. And then this is where you pick how often you want your auto blogger to blog. So you could do every day, every hour, whatever you want. A trigger on weekends. So that's a decision. Do you want it to post on weekends or not? Since no one's working, you can probably just have it post. You can pick the time of day you'd like it to post and then just hit continue. You can test your trigger. And so that's your information of the day that is going. So this, we're going to need to change. Okay. So for our action, we're going to go ahead and change that, get rid of that. And then here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste in a list of travel blog ideas. Okay. So I actually got this list from ChatGPT, but it could be something that you write yourself. It could be something you got from some other resource. And then here it's going to say write 100-word blog post about this Reddit post, but it's no longer a Reddit post. So we're going to change that about one of these blog post ideas, these travel blog post ideas. Okay. Or topics. Okay. So we're just going to change that. And it says you should start with first idea and then continue to the second and so on and so forth. So we're just instructing it to start at the top and then go work its way down the list. Okay. And then continue without repeating any of the blog topics. Okay. But for this one, we needed to remember that it's actually written the first one and now it's going to move on to the second one. So for memory key, we need to write something. I just kind of wrote a random string. You could write blog post ideas number 1, right? Whatever you want. So this way it will actually remember what happened previously in the conversation, which will allow you to continue down there. Okay. And so now this is the information that's being sent to ChatGTP. You may want to go a little bit of a shorter list. 100 is a little long. Okay. And then you can go ahead and hit post. Remember, if you were doing this once every day, that would take 100 days to fill it out. If you were doing this once every hour, that would still be a couple of days before you need to refresh those ideas. Okay. And so there you have it. After we've made those changes, everything else is going to pretty much stay the same. So you can see here, it says hidden gems. That was, I think, our first or second. Hidden gems was our second one. And so that worked to create a blog post about hidden gems. So then if you want to test to make sure it's going to continue down that list, you can go ahead and hit retest action. And so now this is going to resubmit the information. So this would just be like, okay, date 2 or 3. Is it going to move on to the third topic or the next topic, right? Since I've been playing around with it, didn't start at the first topic. And so it takes a second, right? But then you can scroll down and then you can see that it's gone on to the next topic, which is exploring the wonders of South America. And so that is topic number 3. It's always good to check and make sure that things are working properly so that you can be sure that it's not going to just post the same thing over and over and over. So this is sort of the way that you can add in your own ideas, right? Obviously, if you had a long list of ideas that you wanted to do, you could have that. Another way you could do it is maybe you have a couple ideas and you can ask, go to ChatGPT and just prompt it to give you some more ideas based on those ideas. But this way, instead of relying on Reddit, maybe your topic for your blog, it doesn't really have good Reddit subreddit. This would allow you to pick whatever topics you want. Okay. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility, but that's not really a hard change. Okay. And so this video was just explaining, hopefully you were able to learn in this video how to create your own blog topics as opposed to just relying on Reddit. So in this video, we're going to talk about what are some options to have some customization of your routine here. So here we just have the routine that will use a Reddit post to create some content. Okay. Um, so some different ideas that you could use to add some customization. One would be working on maybe you have a particular style that you have for your blog posts and you'd like to have that style be used by ChatGTP. So the way you would do this is you would go to your action and it has this information here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to enter a memory key. And so let's make this where it's just any string. So memory key number 1. Okay. So we're just going to put that there. You need to make sure it's the same. But then what I'm going to say is instead of this, I'll just get rid of this. So I'm going to delete this, delete this. And then here you just copy and paste in your blog post. Okay. So perhaps I go to a blog. So this is the blog that I had. that's using ChatGPT for these. So maybe I'll go to something that uh, maybe I wrote a while ago. Okay. Go ahead. We're gonna hit preview on that. Just try and grab this blog post. So you just copy and paste this blog post or a different one into your right here. Okay, so you copy and paste that in. And then after you do that, what you're going to do is say, it says, write this. Okay, so we're gonna have to change this. Okay, right about 1,000. We're gonna change this to writing blog posts about use all, like all posts. are- Okay. So now what you're gonna do is you have that there. And then because this key stays the same, it will remember that you've put that in. Okay. So then you can go ahead and you can continue. Okay. So this is just where you're putting your blog post. Okay. You capture it from your blog. Then you just hit continue. Okay. You can, then you need to hit test action. Okay. So you hit test action. So it does take that 1 second or two to send information to ChatGPT and then ChatGPT to send that information back. Okay, so now it's going to have taken into whatever blog post you have. Okay, so here it just wrote something random. That's fine. We just wanted to give it that style. Okay, so next, what you're going to do is we're going to go back and actually edit it again. So you're going to go back to um, action. And then we're going to go back and put in the information that you already did. So it's just going to change it back. So this, and then the actual text. So we got the URL, we got the title of that. Okay. And then we're going to just delete this and put back in what you had again. So did you remember? We're and then you can kind of just go back to what you had before. And then you just hit continue. And then you could hit retest action. You do need to hit retest action. Okay. And then that memory code will keep making sure that it remembers what you said before. But you kind of have to retest the action so that it sends that information and then ChatGPT will remember what you did. And so then it will create a blog that has a particular style, whatever style you want it to have. Okay. And so that kind of gives you a chance to add in your style, right? So to kind of mimic your writing a little bit more. Another thing you could look at is maybe having two images. So if you click on this, you can, so if you click on the OpenAI, you can actually create multiple images. So instead of just one, you could create two or three, right? I also suggest probably going up in size maybe. So it's a little bit more detailed picture. and you could hit continue, and you can go ahead and hit test action. Now, obviously, you could do 3, 4, 5, how many ever you want. It will cost a little bit more if you're doing more um, things. Okay, so then you have multiple things here. So then in our email here, we can edit this to include both pictures. So in our action, we'll go to attachments, and then we can actually add that second picture. Okay. And that gives you a little bit more flexibility on what you're going to have be in your picture. Okay. So maybe one picture didn't turn out quite as good as the other one. Then maybe you can actually pick the one that you like better, delete the other one. Okay. And then you just hit continue. And then if those are the changes you want, you could hit publish. If you get stuck on any of these things or you have some other ideas and you're like, "Oh, how could I do this?" Remember, make sure you ask a question, leave me some feedback so that I can continue improving the course. Okay. Thanks so much for learning a little bit about customization. Let's talk about some further applications that you could have for this particular routine. So, let's say instead of wanting to make a blog post, you wanted to add this to a Facebook page, right? This would actually be pretty easy. So, you go here to where instead it says send an email or Gmail, you're going to hit change. And then let's say we want to do Facebook. So, we type in face pages. So, pages would be for business accounts. Choose an event, create a new blog post, hit continue. So here you would log in, and then you could actually then add this ChatGTP text, right? So it'd be pretty simple. You'd probably want to go back and change your prompt. So you'd want to change this prompt to something that looks a little bit different. Action. So we would change this to create a short Facebook post, right? So that would need to be changed. But that would be really simple, right? Or let's say instead of doing a Facebook post, you want to make a tweet, right? So we can add Twitter here. Okay, so then we would do something like create tweet, hit continue. Once again, you'd want to change your prompt to a little bit different, right? But then that would let you create a post with that picture that you created as well and be able to use that. So that could be a really great way to add some more content to a Facebook page or to a Twitter account. Okay. And there's a ton of other potential applications. This is kind of where you use your imagination. What are some other apps, right? Just search through different apps that they have, right? And I think this is where it's your chance to really go out and figure out how can I do something that's amazing, not just what have I learned here, but how can you apply it beyond that? Okay. And I'm really excited to see everything that you guys are going to come up with. So that's kind of how you can customize this a little bit. So let's actually review what you've learned, right? You've been able to learn a ton. Now let's kind of go over that. So you learned how to create that routine, just the basic using a Reddit post or using your own blog post ideas. So you're able to take those ideas and actually create a post you write. Then able to learn how to add in a picture. So it's not just text. You're also able to learn how to add some HTML formatting into that. So it gets a little bit more format. As you can see here, you have the title and big, and then you have different paragraphs, right? And so you're able to do that and learn how to create that routine and then also how to make some customizations, right? What are some new ideas that you might have to add into that? Maybe you wanted to add in two pictures instead of one, or maybe you wanted to look at how could I add this to Facebook or how could I add this to Twitter, right? So you're able to learn a lot here. Some of the things to think about are some best practices, some ways to make sure that it's not just content, but some decently high quality content. I would definitely recommend checking back through what you've done and making sure that it meets your standards, right? So maybe a particular post didn't get the styling information. So go ahead and maybe delete that one, right? I would recommend having enough posts so that anything didn't quite work out the way you wanted, you can just delete that one and have enough stuff there anyways, right? Remember, this is really an idea of, okay, I have enough quality so I can attract a reader, right? They don't look at my blog and say, oh, there's only one thing here, right? Instead, there's enough content that they're interested, engaged, and continue to coming back for more, right? Another thing to note is that Zapier does cost some money. So that is something that you may have to pay for, but it does give you a 14-day trial and you could come up with hundreds, if not even thousands of blog posts over that short amount of time, right? At the very least, a couple hundred blog posts. And that kind of gives you that backlog of posts, and then you can go work on adding your own personalized things. Um, I would definitely check over the pictures, check over the text. One of the things that ChatGTP is known for is making mistakes, right? So if you want your blog to be more reliable, it's definitely good to check over that and make sure that it's not, publishing sort of misleading content or even things that just don't necessarily go with your brand, right? Especially if it's based off of Reddit posts, it could be something on Reddit that isn't necessarily going along with your brand, and that's fine. I would just recommend having enough posts so that you can just go ahead and delete something that isn't what you want, right? So here you can see how I produced, 20, 30 different blog posts just over the course of 2 days. So there's definitely tons of posts that you'll be able to create over a short amount of time. As always, if you get stuck or you need some help, please just let me know. I'm here to help you. If you are trying to figure out how to apply this to a new scenario or something else, just let me know. I'd love to help you in that. Okay. Thanks so much for joining us.